Hey, it's Doris with Aldi Books. I'm here to wrap up the rest of my January reads. There are a couple of Japanese literature, a couple Korean, and a couple of other things. So, jumping right in, I finally got Han Kang's The White Book. This one is a little different from her others. She's the author of The Vegetarian, which was a BookTube darling a couple years ago when I first got on BookTube. I didn't 100% get along with that one. It had to grow on me. But her second one that was translated, Human Acts, I still think is completely brilliant and gorgeous. I love that book. And what the translator does with that is just in the use of point of view it just makes the book sing. And you know, obviously she referenced the author in the Korean text. I mean, obviously, but you know, figuring out how to translate it to English and make it work in the same way, and reading how she did that, I just really enjoyed that process. But this one is actually prose poetry, I believe. That's what that is. And this one is all about white, the color white, and how that plays into life. And it's focused a lot on her older sister who was stillborn or miscarried. I can't remember which, but and just the idea of who she would have been, and the fact that Hong Kong wouldn't have been here if her sister had lived. And yeah, it's really beautiful. It's one of those books that I'll need to read again at some point in time to get the most out of it. But yeah, really, she's just such a gifted author. So much. Next up, we have When We Were Orphans by Kazuo Ishiguro. Yeah, this book was such a disappointment to me. This author is, I believe, extremely well known, and I believe well loved, and this book bored me so much, and I don't know why. It's historical fiction. It's set in other countries from my own. It has children protagonists at points, all things I really enjoy in literature. It's extremely well written, but I just was so bored by it. I mean, it wasn't bad, it was just boring for me. So let me know if I have Never Let Me Go, I think, on my shelves. Is that the name of it? Yes. So I'm going to read that one at some point. I mean, I'm not turned off to the author, and I hear that each one of his books is extremely different. So hopefully I will have better success with the next one. And then I read The Nightingale. This one was so good that I had to leave it for my sister to read. I was in Florida when I finished it, and I said, "Sister mine, you're gonna love this." So I don't think I need to tell you what The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna is. Pretty much everybody knows. I read this one with Ange from Beyond the Pages, and we were both a little bit iffy the first chunk because the characters are very flat and very stereotypical. Like, the one sister is super rebellious and the one sister is super weak and withdrawn, and you think, oh, this is just two polar opposites and everything is too predictable. And then the character development, by the halfway point, you're just getting some really excellent character development. Oh. And then it's also another one of those dual timelines. I seem to like those part of it is set in modern times, and the bulk of it is in World War II. And the son in the contemporary storyline, I just really loved him a lot. As a mother, I just thought, I hope my kid grows up to be that awesome. He's awesome now, but anyway. But yeah, the twist at the end too, it got me right there. All the feels. Okay, and then we're just kind of up and down here, up and down, up and down. The Court Dancer by Kyung-Suk Shin. I did not get along with this one at all. I really tried. The first chapter I found just really, I really did not. This is set in the 1880s in Korea. The royal court, a Frenchman who is a diplomat, is insta-love for one of the court dancers, and anytime she was described in a "I'm attracted to you" way, it was cringeworthy. That happened several times, about at least 3 times. It was just cringeworthy for me. The historical parts I was really interested in. It was a neat concept, just the execution. The translation felt clunky. And then the other thing that didn't work for me is the author would just plop in these little truisms in the middle of the text, just here and there, you know, just in the middle of, I should have found one for you, but oh no, it was very disappointing. And then this one was not disappointing, and this one I didn't have any hype or this perspective, you know. I wasn't going in expecting anything because I hadn't heard that much about it because it's a backlisted book. But The Garden of Evening Mist by Tan Tuan Ing. This was a finalist for the Man Booker. Published in 2012. This book was so good. Just really, really beautiful. It's written beautifully. It's the story of a woman who was in a Chinese woman living in Malaysia, and she was in a Japanese prisoner camp, and her sister was forced to be a comfort woman in that camp. The woman is the only one to survive. She had been in law prior to being in the camp, and when she got out after the war, she helped with some of the trials and eventually became like a Supreme Court justice in Malaysia. And part of the story is her wanting to memorialize her sister by creating a Japanese garden, because her sister loved Japanese gardens and wanted to be a Japanese gardener when she grew up, which she didn't get to. So it's her spending time with this man, Arimoto. The girl was Yunling To. But she spends time with him, and she's very angered by it at first, which you can imagine. She never wants to spend time with Japanese men ever again, and who could blame her after what she had been through. And oh, this book is beautiful from beginning to end. It was so beautiful. I loved it. I'm curious to know what won the Man Booker that year. I need to look it up because this was brilliant. And then last but certainly not least, a delightful read, Inside Out and Back Again by Tana Lai. This won the National Book Award and was an Newbery Honor book. It's a middle grade / YA, and this one is backlisted to 2011. It was published, but this one is a little girl who spent her early years. She was born in Vietnam, and they ended up during the war having to go to the United States to live. And so it's about her, you know, as an ESL teacher, I just appreciated it so much. But it's about her going to school in the States and learning English and fitting in, and the missing home, and it's really beautiful. It's written in free verse. If you have a spare hour or two and can grab this at your library, highly recommend. Highly recommend. It's just a really sweet read. Really sweet. So, January was a great start to my reading year, and hopefully I will continue on this fabulous trip because loving it. So, thanks so much for watching, and I will be back soon. Bye.